You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo.
What's up, friends? Welcome back. Glad to have you here on the podcast. And, it's been, an exciting ride. And, it couldn't be, episode 69 without me saying, I hope it's been as beneficial for you as it has been beneficial for me. And I'll try to stay away from any other innuendos or assumptions here for the rest of this episode. But, I think one of the things that has been exciting for me looking into this NFT space is not only the relationships and friendships and opportunities that, I believe are out there, but there's also just this underwhelming, this underlying, not underwhelming, underlying aspect of togetherness, and this aspect of power through education, through inspiration, through motivation. And I do believe there are some amazing artists. I give a big shout out to a project, the Non-Fungible People. I'm actually hoping to get their team on the podcast in the near future. I believe their art is phenomenal. We minted one for our Mint 365. Shout out to that, and love that you guys are loving the website. You guys are hitting the website extra hard, checking out the projects that we're buying every single day. So thanks for doing that. Shout out to Kevin for making all that happen on the website side. And Non-Fungible People, it's female and non-binary characters that are amazing artists that's going to be really leveraged in the metaverse, and there's some really innovative things that are happening within the actual roadmap of this project. I will say I knew a little bit less about their founders. I know a lot more about the project. So, sometimes that kind of happens in these nuances. And, we also, I also minted one of the why do I always mess this up? HPPR, I believe was the name of their project. And the art for that was amazing. The artist actually is Baltimore area here, the DMV. Shout out to the DMV, and just a great artist. And, I think one of the things I wanted to tap into here is that I've actually talked about it a lot here on the podcast, 69 episodes in. We've used the word community a lot. I mean, a lot, let's be real. But along with the word community, we oftentimes, like when it comes to the word community, we'll also say things like, there's a difference between a community and a network, and there's a difference between a network and an audience, and the number of followers you have, it doesn't equal also the number of people you have in a community. But the other part of this that we have to remember is that NFTs, cryptocurrency, creator coins, even the metaverse, the fundamental foundation of the community that are being created, not all of those communities are going to be what's most beneficial for the greater good or the greater NFT community. In some cases, the way that these projects are going to be leveraged, the way that these projects are going to be utilized, are going to be to maximize the already existing community that lives somewhere else. And because of that, they might not fall exactly into the same culture, the same regimen, the same procedures. And it's very easy for us to bash those that are doing that as like the things that are bad for the NFT space, or the thing that's going to milk all of the liquidity out of the people that care about it. But what I think is actually more important is that we have to look at the true essence of these different projects, and we have to separate them, right? Like no art is ever the same. We also have to recognize there are different NFT projects that are built to accomplish different goals, and we can't hold them all accountable for the exact same procedures and process. And we also can't believe that the communities are apples to apples, in the sense that a community of people that are around a massive YouTube personalities that really love and breathe everything that they have to do isn't the same of a community born out of nothing, where people didn't know of anyone else there until they bought the NFT, and all of a sudden they're now all in in a community full of Playboy rabbitars, right? And that community is ultimately birthed from the NFT space. But what happens when something like, let's just say, the Nelk Boys bring a project in to the NFT space, but what the goal of that NFT project is is to maximize the community they've already built and the community that they've already energized and been nurturing for far long. Now, you can hate on people's ways that they're creating community. You can bash and say that some people assume they have a community when really they're just 15 minutes of fame, or they're just famous for the wrong reasons. You can tackle any of those like things, but let's face it. I look at that most of the time is that we're either hating because we can't accomplish that, right? Or we just have to accept that some projects, we can choose to be a part of them or choose to highlight them or talk about them. But that doesn't mean that they're what other projects should copy or emulate. And I find this to be a very big problem right now, because if you see the way Gary Vee, for example, VeeFriends, launched their project, and then most recently he launched the first fly fishing club NFT that it was going to be for restaurants. The goal there, right? The exclusivity, the rollout, the who got first dibs, the friends and family benefits that are kind of been recently been more present in the NFT space. We might not like that as a trend for universal NFT projects, but in some scenarios, the NFT projects that we're seeing launched are doing what's best for their community. And so who are we as the all-righteous NFT community to judge or break down or bash those that are doing it a little bit different for the benefit of their community? Now, let's be clear. People that are doing it for the benefit of a money grab or to take advantage of people that maybe aren't as well educated in the NFT space, or maybe that aren't fully into the game, that's a whole different conversation that we're not having right now, right? Like that conversation is not the one we're having. The one we're having right now is that when I look at community, no one community is the same as another, but we also have to look at like, where did those communities start? What was like the bond? What was the thing that brought them together, right? What was the purpose or the passion or the utility or the content? And then, what are the things that continue to build upon? And the other part of this is you want to look at, when you look at a community as a whole and you look at the people that make up a community, one of the things that you're going to recognize is what are the mutual passions and mutual values, and even the mutual, let's just say personality traits that the mass majority of a community has. Because here's the other part about what I'm starting to look at when we're looking at NFT projects is there it has to be a lot of personal bias in your discovery. Like, there's a reason at the end of this podcast it says do your own damn research. It doesn't say do research with others or do research with strangers or together we should research and share value. Because here's the thing. We each have to decide, not only is that an NFT project we want to partake in and use our money to add that to our portfolio, but we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Like, what does your version of success look like for each and every NFT project that you are buying? Let me say it again. You must define what success looks like for each and every NFT project that you buy. I made the mistake early on of thinking that I just needed to define success of my NFT portfolio. And as long as I understand what my goals are with NFTs, I will never FOMO into anything. I will never get rug pulled and everything will come up roses. Guess what? That is not the case. There are some projects that I get into because I'm like, you know what? I just want to be associated with other humans that are in that project. There are others that I'm like, you know what? This is going to be worth holding on to for a while because eventually people are going to see the value and then I'm going to be able to sell this for a profit. There's other ones where I'm like, you know what? It's way undervalued and I'm just going to wait till the value goes up a little bit and then I can flip it. There's a couple other projects where it's like, you know what? If I get in on that, it's going into my hardware wallet and I'm not going to get rid of it no matter what people are paying because of what the access and the connection and the beliefs are that exist. And I think this is where I'm going to really push on us to be very careful in this gray area of do we talk about people that are doing shady things and try to expose the bad behaviors. While at the same time, we have to question who the hell made you the NFT police? And where that like gray area fits is kind of up to you. But that also is going to align with like where does something fit in your repertoire, in your collection. And sometimes you're not even going to know the answer to that. I will tell you, there's a shout out to a project right now. It's called the White Rabbit Project. The White Rabbit one, it's the White Rabbit one, and it's from the team that's put it on is the Gate. And hopefully I reached out to them about having them on a podcast in the near future as well, because I loved the company research that I did, but I can honestly say when I was researching the company, I was like, wow, they're going to do something really great in this space. And they happen to be called The Gate. And the more I researched the company, I was like, you know what? I want to keep my eye on them. And so I ended up like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I, purchase one of their pre-mint passes is what they did. And so I paid 0.1 ETH for a pre-mint pass. And then yesterday, on the day that we could mint, I connected my wallet. It knew that I had that pre-mint pass, and it said you can mint up to 3, and I only had to pay the gas fees for the minting up to those 3 NFTs, and which is what I did. I minted 3 of them, and then later on in the day, they actually popped up and said, "Hey, we have a PFP, a profile photo, that NFT that you can also claim for every one of the White Rabbit NFTs that you just bought." And so I went on there and I just paid the gas fees and I got those 3 as well. And then I sat back and I was like, wait, when is the reveal? What is this project all about? And I almost had to like put myself a little bit in check on like kind of like identifying, okay, what was success of this project to begin with? Like, why am I holding these NFTs? And I almost had to like do a little bit even more research onto what their vision was as a project, right? And I mentioned earlier, like I also revealed the HPPRS collection, which happens to be a rabbit collection as well. Right now, I have 3 rabbit collections that are in my portfolio. I have the Playboy Rabbitars, which is one of my favorite and is one of those NFTs that I told you I will not sell. The Playboy Rabbitar that I currently hold, number 2099. It is mine. It is not for sale. It will not be for sale. It is nicely stored into my hard wallet, and it is one that is, one of those handful. I think there's only 10, maybe 9 projects right now that are. I have one of them that is just, hey, this is the one I want to hold. I'm also like, I love that I minted it, right? Like it was originally mine, so like it's the only person that's ever had this is me. And that might be one of them, but this White Rabbit 1 project was one that I knew why I got into it originally, because I wanted to check out the mechanics and how the launch was going to go with this company, The Gate, because I care. I am looking at it from a community perspective. But let me tie this back into another project that I just bought off of the secondary market, which is kind of linked into why this episode exists, and that is the Full Send Meta Card. Now, the Full Send Meta Card gives you exclusive access for what Full Send does in physical and the metaverse. Owning this card allows you to get in early. And remember, this is a long journey, which is kind of funny because that's me reading the exact bio. But, really what this ends up being is that, it's a Full Send, like kind of like Genesis card that was dropped by the Nelk Boys. And the Nelk Boys, as YouTubers, extremely popular YouTubers with a massively successful podcast as well. They had Gary Vaynerchuk on the podcast recently, and listening to that episode, they were, openly admitting that they were kind of newer to the NFT space. But interestingly enough, the day after that episode drops, they announced their Discord. Their Discord, I've never seen a Discord like this. I've been in a lot of crazy Discords. It grew to over 200,000 people in one day. When I logged into it, I couldn't get the verified token to work, and everything I was trying was kind of backfiring. And then I jumped into their actual audio session, and they had over 100,000 people listening to them live on that audio, which is just wild. For everyone that says that all the people in that NFT or in that Discord were bots, I haven't seen a lot of bots that are programmed to sit into the voice chat sessions. So, and maybe there are. I don't know everything here on the podcast. But the more I listened to them last night on their live audio session, they did a great job of educating people on not spending money outside of the norm and what their goals were with this project and why they were excited to launch it. And you might argue that like the roadmap isn't very clear right now, but they also were like, they were very clear on like, hey, we don't want to hold any of these NFTs for ourselves, but we're going to take 100 of them and we're going to use them for future giveaways, and they're going to sit in one of our founders' wallets, but he's going to have to purchase his own. And they even did a video on that process. But then they didn't announce like how to get on the whitelist, and they dropped the whitelist form, but I guess they never used it. But then they did a early or pre-sale today, which apparently went to like friends and family for about 3,500 of the NFTs. And then they sold out in a matter of 30 seconds. And the mint price was 0.7 or 0.75. I can't remember which. I think it was 0.7. And it sold out immediately. And originally when their first like family and friends dropped, a lot, interestingly enough, the family and friends started trying to flip them. And there was actually a very well-known, let's not call him scammer, let's call him influencer that has blurry morals. I can't even say that with a straight face. He's just known for, getting early access. And I say he, I don't know if it's a he or she, but that person kind of flipped that, they bought a ton of them during that pre-sale, and they flipped them all for like 1 ETH each, for making a, 0.25 or 0.3 profit on, a massive amount of, 100 NFTs. Now, you could argue that they probably shouldn't have included that person in the friends and family scenario. But at the same time, like, we act as if like everyone is aware of everyone's, underlying intentions, but that's not the case, right? We are all human. We can all be manipulated, but, it sold out in 30 seconds. And when I went and looked on the secondary market and I was looking at this project, I can tell you part of it for me, and part of the reason, shout out to Drew on the team. And, Drew is one of the founders of the Meta Athletes project that I'm a part of, as one of the founders there. And we're excited to drop that, and some news on that very soon. I will give a shout out to Kevin Smith on the Meta Athletes team. Guys, wait till you see this art. I'm looking at it right now, like on my screen. Actually, you know what I'll have to do, just for those that watch this on the YouTube channel, I'm going to drop this art piece right there into, let's see if I can drop it in there. Maybe I can't even drop it in. Maybe that's a problem. But I'll drop the art because I mean, Kevin has done a really great job on the artwork for this project. And, I'm excited to see what's next and how this is all going to work out. And I will tell you, like, for me, like, so, and the reason I bring that up is to go back in full circle, right? I know I have ADHD. Sometimes I take you guys down a rabbit hole, get it, pun intended. But the part of, like, I will say part of the reason for me actually getting that NFT, which is, I bought on the secondary market, right? And I'm very transparent. We bought it for 0.97 ETH, which I told you it minted at 0.7. I jumped right over as soon as it minted out. And the OpenSea couldn't even keep out because people were buying them so fast. I will tell you at time of recording right now, the floor is 1.049. But for me, part of the reason that I'm very excited to hold this NFT, not only because Drew and I were staying up last night, kind of thinking about this project, but it's also a project that's set to do something different. And in a way, I can look at these investments as me really broadening my knowledge of this space. Like, without question, part of the excitement for me on this journey is that I know that I am going to have knowledge about minting NFTs that nobody can compare with me. No one else is going to can be able to say this November that they know what it's like to buy an NFT every single day. They know what it's like to research NFTs from November of 2021 to November of 2022. That is, I'm not saying that out of arrogance. I'm saying it out of truth. Now, with that also comes that like great responsibility for me I want to understand different blockchains. I want to understand different use cases because I have big plans for this podcast, big plans for this entire arena. We were even talking about a spin-off sister show that would be something really cool for us to launch in the very near future. And you're not going to get any more alpha out of me on that one, as well as like what season 2 will look like come November 11th, 2022, right? And what does the next year of buying NFTs look like? And even if that's something we can tackle on. But I will say, like, when I remember looking at VFriends, I was assuming VFriends was the same collection as the 5 others I chose from, right? And those that don't know the story, I moved my ETH over to buy a VFriends that I've been researching. And a friend kind of suggested, Brian, why would you buy one VFriend? Why wouldn't you want to take that same amount of money and invest in these 5 projects? Because maybe it'll have better return. You'll be able to have more experience. None of those 5 projects have you guys ever heard of. They don't exist in any like active fashion at the moment. Of course, VFriends does. And I've made it very clear, one of the things that I'm working towards, not that I can't afford it right out of the gate, but I want to build up through my own NFT collection, and I want to get a VFriends that I want, right? I want to get one that is the one that I want. But the reason I say all of that is that I look at this, of what the meta card is, what they're calling it, the meta card by the Nelk Boys, as like this is in many cases a different way of approaching NFTs, and right, and like one of the things they said, Full Send's goal is to launch more Full Send branded venues, which includes lounges, gyms, festivals, casinos, restaurants, and more. And even going international, they're not only talking about metaverse locations, but also physical locations. And so I think that there's something exciting about the possibilities that are there. Does that mean I'm going to hold on to that NFT for forever? No. But there is something to be said about, how do you know what works until you try it, or you study others that are doing it? And the other thing about this is that I don't know the Nelk Boys community very well. I of course know of them. I've consumed some of their content, but I'm not active subscriber on their YouTube channel. I'm not one that is fully aware of all of their nuances. And so for me, it's impressive to know that you can move communities around. And let's face it, we also know that a lot of people that are successful in social media and YouTube were also great at buying followers and using bots. So let's not sugarcoat things, right? Let's be also very, very truthful here on the podcast. But I think one of the things that I hope you take away from this episode is this idea of, let's stop comparing every NFT project against every NFT project. Rather, let's look back and kind of understand which ones are community born within the NFT, which ones are bridging a community over from another platform or another arena. And then also, what does that all mean, right? Because it's very easy for us to bash a brand and how a brand launches an NFT project, but that brand is going to approach things differently. I would argue, if I was a brand, I would look at that West Coast Customs example. Now, I will openly admit I've been very disappointed to see that the Meta Whips has not exploded onto the scene as much as I thought it would. I believe the West Coast Customs team has done everything right in my book, in what they've been building, how they brought it to light, the artwork, all of the different components there. And I think it's one of those slow burn projects that, we'll probably look back on the episode that I had them on the show and realize how many people wish they listened to that episode and they got in on the Meta Whips early on, because I do believe the utility, the really attention to detail is there, and the community they want to build exists, right? And the games they want to connect with, and the fact they want to partner with crypto dads and all those things. But this is where I hope that, we look at this and say, what does the community mean to all of us, right? How are we looking at this community? And I will tell you, as someone that is, working with meta athletes, and we're also going to launch our own little PFP collection in the springtime. I want to know as much about what I don't know as possible right now. Let me say that again. I want to know about as much as I don't, I want to know about as much, I can't even say my own things. I want to know about as much as I don't know right now as possible, which means if there's a way that mechanics for a raffle, I've been taking screenshots of the different ways that people, their mint loading screens look like. I've been taking screenshots of the different onboarding of inside of a Discord. I've been taking screenshots when I see something that stands out as really crafty storytelling and ways that you can bring people along on their journey. Because these to me are all examples that I can work with clients and work with those that are hiring me to say, hey, have you thought about telling stories this way? Or have you thought about creating a mint experience that really explodes on the screen and it doesn't just go back to the words and say, thank you for your purchase. Here's your hash transcriptions file, right? How do you bring that to life, right? Because the minute that money, that person mints the NFT, from that minute forward, it's their experience, right? Like I'm against this idea of waiting like 3 or 4 weeks to reveal the artwork of a project. Like, I mean, there's a couple projects in my bag that I don't even remember why. Like, I have to go look at my notes to why I bought them, and I haven't even seen the art because they've held off on the release, for so long. And so when we think about all of these things, we have to really think about these communities. The last thing I'll say is, I said full send or full stop when it comes to community. I really do believe it's okay for people to do things differently and be rewarded for it, as long as that way that they're doing it isn't harming or manipulating or hurting those that you're involuntarily getting hurt. And I think that's part of this narrative as well, right? And hey, if you have a massive community that you've been building and nurturing for a long time, and I think you should launch an NFT, and I think your NFT should be focused on what's best for your community. And it doesn't mean it has to fall in line with everything that the NFT community loves. But if you're one that wants to foster a community and build a community and understands the importance of it, hell yeah, you should look at what is working and what is best in this NFT community. But I think we have to be very careful about being, the police and the cops and telling people what is right or what is wrong when we're just trying to compare everyone to one project, right? Like, I mean, like the Hape Beast project dropped today, and I was laughing when I first saw the art and the announcements of it. Like, I immediately knew that I was no chance I was gonna be able to get it, right? Like, we've been getting a lot of offers now for people we get a lot more mint passes now that this podcast is kind of taking off. But I knew that was one that, and I didn't even try, really, honestly, to be truth. I didn't try to get on that whitelist. I did try to mint it when it went live, and that didn't happen. And the floor price shot up to like 5 ETH right away. And it's a project I'll watch from afar. And hey, kudos to that team for capturing all that hype and all the things that go on in that space. But I'll lastly just kind of leave you guys with this. Like, I do believe the future of business is community. I believe we're all in the business of trust, and I believe there is nothing more powerful to empower that trust than community. But communities are going to look and feel different in this Web3 metaverse world. Some are going to be ones that thrive with individual NFT holders. Others are going to have a core group of loyal super fans, and then others are going to be very transactional, come in and out and flipping around. And then some are going to be kind of a hybrid where they're bringing over a community of people into this world. And I think as we become closer to onboarding more people, as we see other projects and other platforms launch, we just have to be hyper aware about how we're like judging and how we're looking at things. And I'm going to challenge everyone here, before you get into an NFT project, hopefully you're jotting down like your notes on why you're investing and what you're doing. Maybe you're using a spreadsheet or an Airtable, or maybe you just have it on a notebook or your iPhone. But I'm going to challenge you to write down, what does success look like for you purchasing that NFT project, right? And it could be everything from exposure to a community, the networking. It could be because you want to make money on it, because you hope it increases in value right away. It could be because you just love the art and that's something you want to keep. Whatever that may be, I want you to write down what success looks like before you purchase every NFT. And then there's one other thing I want you to do is I want you to also think about, how are you going to measure that success? Like, what are the goals that are going to allow you to measure that success along the way? Because if we don't have measurable goals and our success is too broad or too out there, in many cases, we'll feel like we're not getting anywhere closer to our success and we'll bail. We've all done it, right? Like when we have this like really lofty goal, and at halfway through, we're like, man, we're never going to make it. And we just stop. But what if we celebrated every milestone all the way up until then? Because we knew that if we accomplished all of these goals compounding, it would ultimately end in us achieving the success that we want. I'm a big believer in that we must celebrate our achievements along the way. I mean, we just made top 25 podcast in America in the technology category on Spotify, thanks to all of you. And I am not afraid to celebrate that, because you know what? I'm doing a daily damn podcast, and it is a lot of work. We have a lot of team, and I know all of you that are listening, it takes a lot of work to listen. Like, don't get me wrong. I know that there's a time commitment that you're giving me right now every single day for those that are listening every day, and there's a lot of you. I respect it. I am humbled every time you message me. And if you don't believe that, please take this to heart, is that Like, I recognize you have 24 hours in the day, same things that I have. And, it's funny because I can't find a time to listen to my own podcast back, because as soon as we're done, we're producing this, we're posting it, we're researching other projects, trying to manage our Discord. Oh, I also run a speaking business that is, I'm trying to book my calendar, and we're going to be going to South by Southwest and Social Media Marketing World and a lot of these other events that we're going to be, broadcasting this podcast live from. But with all that being said, we all have to approach these communities and these projects for what is best for us. And you will best do that by defining your own individual success, mapping out your own individual goals for that project, and then understanding that as you go along the way. There's a couple projects that the floor has really dropped in the projects that I hold, and I have not cared one bit. And I will tell you, I'm in it for the money just as much as the other person. And there are plenty of projects that I do care about the floor, and I watch them every day. But the other projects, my success had nothing to do with what I would sell the NFT for. And in a way, there's 4 projects that I can think of off the top of my head that if they went to $0 right now, it would not bother me a bit, because I've already got enough value out of the money I put in that everything else is just cherry on top of the ice cream. I don't like cherries, right? It's just sprinkles on top of the ice cream, right? It's like that bonus. And so I hope all of you take that to account. I hope you guys, I hope you have a great day. It is episode 69. I will say, for those that don't know, it is also the greatest day to be born on, as I was born on 69, June 9th, 81. I'm 40 years old. I turned 41 this year. And I like to say I was born on the best day of the year. I was born on 69. And I know for many of you, you're like, oh, it explains so much. And for others, they're like, where is he going with this? Hey, those of us that are neurodiverse, have a little bit of ADHD, we got to have some fun, tie some things in there. Make it a great day, my friends. Until tomorrow, cheers. All right. Thank you guys here on YouTube for checking out the podcast. I will say, let's see if I can throw up a little live screen here. Hey, look at that. Oh, I don't want I don't want the spreadsheet up. That wasn't supposed to be up, but there we go. So I mentioned a couple projects there in the podcast. This is the Full Send NFT that we purchased. I was explaining, I purchased it for 0.97 about an hour ago. So that's the truthful there, giving you guys a little bit behind the scenes. Here, let's see, and then. The other part here for those here on YouTube, I mentioned that this White Rabbit project, right? So I was able to get these 3, the red, the yellow, the green, because I had minted these 3, which are the pink ones that you guys see here. And this is my full OpenSea collection on my public wallet. I do have a couple other wallets that we won't be kind of exposing here on this side of the house. But so I just want to, for me, in where I look at a lot of the things that I shared here, there's some haters. There's some people that don't appreciate or don't like the way others are launching their projects. But I really do think that we can't judge every project the same. And hopefully you guys agree with that side of it. And, the other thing is, we say right here above my head, you guys see that? Just a friendly reminder for our friends here on YouTube that are watching the after part. You can't fix stupid. And some people, they're going to make stupid decisions and, ultimately do more harm than good, and to each their own. So, all right, guys. So that's all I got for you. Here's 3 of me on a 69. You got a little bit of inside information there, as I was born on this day of 69. So till next time, you guys might have saw, I also made sure to, I have a 360 camera running some time lapse right now. So if you guys want to see a little bit of the time lapse of this, check it out on the Twitters. Make sure you subscribe, turn that bell on so you guys are notified each time we do have a YouTube version of the podcast dropped. And cheers.